It's at least acting like it's working now. Maybe it'll work. Okay, here's your second one. And those of you watching at home, sorry, the microphone was not working. Well, nobody's watching right this moment, but hopefully Maggie and Zena are going to, yeah, hopefully Maggie and Zena are going to watch this later since they're not here. Yeah. Yeah. I've got like 8 subscribers on YouTube. Yeah. I might have more. 22? I'm practically viral. I'm gonna start getting checks. Wow, yeah. I don't even know if I can because it's like through my school. I don't know. I wonder how that works. Yeah. That's what my kids think. Like if I put a video of them up and they get like 25 views, they're pretty excited about that. Yeah. 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 All right. So for this equation here, we are going. Oh wait. Let's do. I like to do domain first because it's easy to forget it if you do it at the end. So the domain for this would have to be that x minus 5 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So that means x has to be greater than or equal to 5. So if we get any answers below 5, we got to throw them out, right? Because they are not going to work. All right, so if we're going to solve this, we want the square root by itself first, so I'm going to divide off that 3. So that will give me square root of x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 12. I need to get rid of the square root, so I will square both sides. So x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 144. And then I will add 5. And my answer will be x is greater than or equal to 149. So this is my answer. Okay, my answer, if I think of the number line, I got 149 here, and I got numbers greater than or equal to 149. Okay. The domain is not my answer. I just have to make sure that it doesn't conflict with my answer. Okay? Are there any numbers bigger than 149 that are not going to be bigger than 1 or bigger than 5? They're not, right? So in this particular case, my domain is anything bigger than 5, right? So since everything in my answer is in fact bigger than 5, then I just kind of ignore this. It doesn't affect my answer at all. Mm-hmm. So like if this was x is greater than 149, so it still would not matter for this particular problem because 5 is, this answer right here, I can only have numbers from 5 and up, and everything here falls into that category. Not always, but most of the time, if you have a greater than sign right here in your, in this original problem right here, most of the time if you have a greater than sign, you are not going to, the domain's not going to matter. Now there's times it can happen, but most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time the issue is whenever you have a less than sign, because your answer ends up being like x is less than something, but it actually also has to be greater than this other value. So it's usually a less than, although there can be exceptions to that. Okay, so our answer on that one, x is just greater than or equal to 149. The 5 does not affect. Here's our next one. right, so we've got this time a fourth root. So the fourth root of 2x plus 3 is less than or equal to 3. Can I have negatives under a fourth root?
No.
No. Can I have negatives under a third root? Yes. So if you get something with a cube root, you do not have to consider the domain because it's okay to have a negative or any odd root. But if it's square root, fourth root, sixth root, any even root, you have to consider the domain. So our domain over here is that 2x plus 3 has to be greater than or equal to 0 because we can't have negatives under that root. We would get 2x is greater than or equal to negative 3. We would divide off that 2, so x is greater than or equal to negative 3 halves. This is not our answer, but it might be a restriction on our answer at the end. Okay? So now we want to solve our inequality. How do I get rid of a fourth root? Fourth power. Okay? So I get 2x plus 3 is less than or equal to 3 to the fourth is 81. Should be 81, I think. Yeah. And then we'll subtract our 3. 2x is less than or equal to 78. Divide by 2. X is less than or equal to 39. Okay, so our answer is all the numbers 39 and less. Does that work with our domain? No, because that would include numbers below negative 3 halves, right? So if you don't necessarily have to draw the number line, but if you think about it here, we got 39. We're saying all the numbers less than 39, but our domain tells us we can only use the numbers bigger than negative 3 halves. So it ends up just being those numbers between negative 3 halves and 39. So negative 3 halves less than or equal to x less than or equal to 39. That would be our final answer. Okay, questions? Okay, here. All right, let's do one more. Okay, so we've got the square root of m plus 8 is less than or equal to the square root of 2m minus 6. So this time I have two separate square roots, so I've got two things to consider for my domain. Because I cannot have negatives under either one of those square roots and this still be true. So I know that m plus 8 has to be greater than or equal to 0. And if I solve that, that tells me that m has to be greater than or equal to negative 8. All right, so that considers this left-hand square root. I also have to consider the right-hand square root. So 2m minus 6 also has to be greater than or equal to 0. So that would be 2m is greater than or equal to 6. If I divide by 2, there m is greater than or equal to 3. So those are both restrictions on my domain. However, like if something is greater than or equal to 3, is it also going to be greater than or equal to negative 8? Yes. So really, the domain here ends up just coming from that one that has the bigger number, because anything greater than or equal to 3 would also be greater than or equal to negative 8, so it won't really be necessary to consider both of those. You do want to consider both of them, but whichever one has the higher number is the one that matters for your answer. So now if we solve this, we're going to square both sides, which is going to give us m plus 8 is less than or equal to 2m minus 6. I'm going to subtract this m right here. So 8 is less than or equal to m minus 6. I'm going to add that 6. So I get 14 is less than or equal to m. I really don't like it written that way with the m on the right-hand side. So I'm going to write it this way. M is greater than or equal to 14. Remember with inequalities, I didn't run into it because I moved my m over here to the right-hand side. If you divide by negative, you got to flip the inequality sign. I didn't have to do that here because of the way I solved it, but you might run into it. Okay, so my answer is m is greater than or equal to 14. Does my domain conflict with that? No, because anything greater than or equal to 14 is also greater than or equal to 3, right? So I can just put my answer as m is greater than or equal to 14. Now, if it had been m is less than or equal to 14, I'd have to say 3 less than or equal to m less than or equal to 14. Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. So
yes.
If our answer is just because m is greater than 14, would we still have to include 4 equal to because the domain is greater than 4 equal to 3?
No, you would not. So whenever you solve the inequality, this is your answer. So basically, like if you're thinking about the graph, you got 14. Even like if it were just greater than, you would consider, it would just be anything bigger than 14. The domain is only serves to take away part of that answer, not to add to it. You never add to that answer. And so right here, my domain tells me that I've got this has got to be bigger than 3. Everything there is bigger than 3, so that is just my answer. The only time that you are going to use the domain is if it needs to take away part of your answer. And typically that's going to be whenever you have a less than in your answer, in most cases, for that. Another way you can think of it is like, this was 3 is greater than or equal to 3 right here. So your answer is wherever they overlap, like wherever both of them are true, which for this case, they overlap from 14 on. That's another way to think of it. Okay, questions? Okay, so your assignment for today is on Canvas again like it was last night. And it's just a picture of a textbook page. Yeah, and so you're doing 9, 10. 9, 10's actually on the second page. I copied it backwards, obviously. So 9 and 10 are on the second page, and then you've got, what did I say it was? 29 through 35, because I took this out of my teacher book. Yeah, so the answers are beside them because this is out of the teacher's edition of the book, which has the answers beside it, so you can check as you go. I think I also have like a worked out key for this, maybe. Possibly. We'll see if that's there. This work is, yeah, I've got it worked out. Although I think I worked out more than what you have to do. I think this was my work for like everything from that page. So there's going to be some questions on there you didn't have to do. So don't let that confuse you. This is going to be homework if you do not finish the book work. Okay? But you got about 20 minutes, so maybe you can get it done. Then I'm also giving you the test review. Okay? On Monday in class, we are going to play Review Jeopardy. So we're going to get in the groups and you'll play Review Jeopardy. What I'll probably do is make the odds of this, because that will take up some of the class time. I'm probably going to make the odds of this required for homework, because Jeopardy will probably take about an hour. You'll have about 30 minutes to work on this. So the odds are probably going to be required, but the whole thing is good practice if you're wanting extra. No, you do not have to do any of it this weekend. The only thing that is homework if you do not finish is the book work that's on Canvas. This, I'm probably just going to assign odds in case, if you want to work ahead, you may only want to do the odds first if you're thinking about reducing your homework load. Because we'll play that game in class, so it's going to take away some of the time you'll have to work on this. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to you in case anybody wants to look at it over the weekend, or if you want to do all the problems on this, you're not going to have time to do all the problems on this in class on Monday. So it is not due until Tuesday, and it's only going to be the odds then. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to you so that you can have it. And test will be on paper. Test will be on paper Tuesday, all calculator active, but no deadline.